Welcome, architects. Today, we are mastering agent skills in Claude Code. We'll learn how to teach Claude your specialized workflows once, so it can execute them automatically every time. Let's dive in. Let's start by defining what agent skills actually are. In Claude Code, a skill is a reusable markdown file that acts as an expertise package. If you find yourself repeatedly explaining your team's code review checklist or commit message format, you are wasting time and tokens. That is exactly why we use skills. How do they work? When Claude Code starts, it scans for available skills, but only reads their names and descriptions. This keeps your context window clean. When you give Claude a prompt, it semantically matches your request against those descriptions. If there's a match, Claude asks for your confirmation, and only then does it pull the full skill instructions into your current context. This on-demand loading is a brilliant architectural pattern for maintaining lean, efficient AI workflows. Look at this flowchart to visualize the activation cycle. It all starts with the user request. Claude evaluates this against known skill descriptions in the semantic match decision node. If there is no overlap, it proceeds with standard execution. But if it matches, say, you ask for a code review and you have a PR review skill, Claude prompts you to confirm. Once confirmed, it seamlessly loads the full skill.md into your context window, equipping the agent with exactly the knowledge it needs for that specific task. Now let's dissect the anatomy of a skill file. Every skill lives in a specific file named exactly skill.md, housed inside its own directory. The magic happens in the YAML formatter at the top of this file. You are required to provide a name and a description. As an architect, you must understand that the description is the most critical field. It is not just documentation, it is the actual algorithmic trigger. Claude uses this field to match against user prompts. For our deep dive, we call this trigger engineering. If you build a brilliant refactoring skill but Claude never uses it, the problem is your description. You must include the actual phrases your developers type, like restructure this code or fix my architecture. Without a strong, keyword-rich description, the skill is invisible to the agentic loop. This class diagram breaks down the skill.md file structure. At the top, in the YAML formatter block, we have our metadata. The name and description are strictly required, with the description acting as the engine's trigger mechanism. Below that, we have optional fields like allowed tools and context, which we will cover next. Finally, separated by dashes, is the markdown body, containing the actual step-by-step logic, checklists, and rules Claude must follow once the skill is activated. Where do these skills live and what happens when they conflict? Skills can be scoped to different levels. Personal skills live in your home directories .claude/skills folder and follow you across every project on your machine. Project skills live in the repositories .claude/skills folder and are committed to Git, meaning everyone who clones the repo gets them. This is how you enforce team standards. But what happens if you name your personal skill code review and your repository also has a code review skill? Claude resolves this using a strict priority hierarchy. For the exam, memorize this order. Enterprise managed settings are highest priority, followed by personal, then project, and finally plugins at the bottom. This ensures that mandatory organizational compliance rules enforced via enterprise settings can never be overridden by a developer's personal configurations. This top-down flowchart perfectly illustrates the skill priority hierarchy. At the absolute top sits enterprise managed settings, highlighted in red to denote its absolute authority for compliance. Below that is personal configuration, which overrides project configurations, and finally plugins sit at the base. If Claude detects a name collision during its startup scan, it simply takes the skill from the highest available tier and completely ignores the shadowed counterparts below it. Let's get into advanced, production-grade configurations. When you build complex skills, you face two risks: token pollution and dangerous side effects. We solve both using YAML formatter. First, context forking. If you have a skill that analyzes your entire codebase, it will dump hundreds of lines of red logs into your conversation, destroying your context window. By adding context fork, the skill spawns an isolated sandbox. It does the messy work there and only returns the final answer to your main session. Second, tool restrictions. If you build a security audit skill, it should never modify your files. By adding allowed tools read, grep, you establish a hard security boundary. If the skill attempts to use the write or bash tools, it will be deterministically blocked. If you omit this field, the skill has full, dangerous access. Observe this state diagram mapping isolated execution. Once a skill activates, the system checks for the context fork flag. If present, we enter the isolated sandbox state. Inside this sandbox, every tool execution hits a tool check. If it is in our allowed tools array, like red or grep, it proceeds. If it attempts write or bash, it is explicitly blocked. Once finished, the sandbox gracefully collapses and returns only a clean, concise summary back to your main context. As an architect, you will be tested on choosing the right tool for the job. You have Claude.md/commands and skills. How do you choose? Claude.md is your always-on memory. Every single instruction in that file consumes tokens on every single prompt. You must reserve it strictly for universal rules, like always use strict TypeScript. /commands are manually triggered, like typing /test. They are great for fast macros but lack isolation. Skills are the gold standard for complex workflows because they load on demand. A massive anti-pattern to avoid is stuffing a 50-line PR review checklist into your project's Claude.md file. If you do that, Claude pays the token tax for that checklist even when you are just asking it to fix a CSS typo. Extract that checklist, put it in a skill, and let semantic matching load it only when a review is actually requested. This decision tree is your cheat sheet for Claude code customization. Start at the top. Does this rule always apply? If yes, route to Claude.md. If no, ask, do I want to manually trigger this? If yes, use a /command. If you want Claude to automatically detect the need based on semantic meaning, and if it requires complex or isolated logic, you invariably route to creating a dedicated agent skill. Let's cover two advanced operational patterns, subagent handling and progressive disclosure. First, a major gotcha: if you spin up a custom subagent, it does not magically know your skills. Subagents are isolated. If you want a front-end reviewer subagent to use your accessibility audit skill, you must explicitly declare that skill in the subagent's YAML configuration. Second, let's talk about building massive skills. If your workflow requires 20 pages of documentation, do not put it all in one skill.md file. We use a pattern called progressive disclosure. Keep your skill.md under 500 lines. Store the heavy documentation in a references subfolder. Inside the skill.md, write instructions like, if the user asks about API design, read references/api.md. Claude will dynamically fetch only the data it needs, keeping your tokens low and execution fast. Look at this architecture for scalable subagent skills. First, the subagent configuration explicitly loads the required skills. We hit our lean skill.md file acting as the router. Notice the dotted lines going to the reference documents and scripts. These represent progressive disclosure. Claude only traverses these paths and loads those heavy files if specific conditions during the conversation mandate it, preserving maximum context window efficiency. To tie this together, consider a real-world use case, a team-wide security review skill. By committing this to your repositories.claude/skills/folder, every developer automatically gets the same strict CV checklist applied to their code. If things go wrong, here is your troubleshooting checklist. If the skill won't trigger, your description is weak. Add the exact phrases developers type. If it won't load at all, check your file structure. It must be inside a named directory, and the file itself must be strictly named skill.md in all caps. If it fails mid-execution, verify your file paths use forward slashes and your bash scripts have execute permissions. Always run the skills validator tool before committing to save yourself debugging time. I invite learners to like, subscribe, and visit quicktechie.com for premium certification prep, including Q&A banks, full ebooks, audiobooks, full-length training, and interview guides. This final diagnostic flowchart is your ultimate troubleshooting guide. When a skill fails, ask, did it trigger? If no, fix your description keywords to match semantic intent. If it triggered but didn't load properly, immediately verify your directory structure and ensure the file is named exactly skill.md. If it loaded but failed during execution, investigate your script permissions and ensure your path slashes are correct.
Welcome to quicktechie.com. So just type in quicktechie.com here. Then you can go through the material which is provided by Quicktechie. We have first of all video courses which you can go here and you can find the various video courses across the technologies as well as finance domain. So if you see in Microsoft, we have 8 programs currently running. Next, you can go through the ebooks available. So all the ebooks which are in PDF format today, and you can download this. So let me go through Microsoft certification ebooks, you can click on any of this and you can see this is the PDF available for you to download. So these are the premium ebook mostly available on quicktechie.com platform only. Now the second part is exam simulator. As we primarily focus on the all technology companies and finance domain certification preparation material, so this is company wide listed here and you can go through this. So let me go through the Microsoft one again. You can see these are all Microsoft related certification. AB 730 exam, if you open it, so you can see here this, and all the practice papers are available here. Today we have a 5 practice paper. So click on the first practice paper, it would load the questions. You can answer this question. This is way you can answer it and you can move to the next question. Now third material we wanted to highlight is an audiobook. So we started recently with the audiobooks as well, which you can listen on the go, and various technology wise ebooks are available. And at the last, this is our alumni. These people who are subscribing to our courses and this platform, they are all listed here. And at the end, I wanted to tell you, if you find any course or training or certification preparation material which you want to get us prepare for yourself, please put on the comment section. If you're watching on YouTube, on Udemy, or on this platform itself, quicktechie.com, then please put the comment, or you can even send an email to using this contact us options here. You can directly do the WhatsApp message. You can call us on this numbers as well.